All right, let's dive into a world, well, a world most people never even think about. Today we're joining RobFindsTreasure. He's this YouTuber on a quest to find rare coins, and his latest video, well, it's all about hunting for wheat pennies.
Wheat pennies.
Yeah, have you ever even heard of those?
I mean, I've heard the term, but
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you what makes them special.
Yeah, we'll get into that. But first, let me just tell you, this guy is going through hundreds of boxes of pennies, hoping to eventually sort through a million.
A million pennies. Wow, that's some serious dedication. What's driving him to do this?
Well, he's trying to complete a specific coin album. It's kind of like a treasure map, but instead of X marks the spot, it's empty slots just waiting for the right coin.
Right.
And in the video we're watching today, he goes through 365 boxes.
365 boxes. That's got to be. Hold on.
That's over $18,000 worth of pennies.
Wow. Can you even imagine going through all of those just hoping to find those elusive wheat pennies?
Right.
It's fascinating how some people are drawn to collecting, isn't it? There's something about finding that rare item, completing a set, having that tangible connection to history. Now you mentioned wheat pennies a couple of times now. So what makes them so special? What should we be looking out for as we watch this video?
Well, first off, they're not like the pennies we use today.
Okay.
These were minted from 1909 to 1958 and have a totally different design on the back. Two stalks of wheat flanking the words 1 cent.
Ah, okay.
So right away they stand out
Yeah.
from modern pennies. And just imagine finding a penny from the 1930s or even older. It's like holding a piece of history in your hand. Have you ever found any old coins yourself?
The oldest I ever found was a silver dime from my grandmother's purse when I was a kid.
Oh, cool.
I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
It even had a little bit of tarnish on it, which to me, just added to its character.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's a great find. I think the oldest I've found was a nickel from the 60s, which I thought was pretty neat at the time. But back to Rob, in the video, you can really feel the ups and downs of the hunt. He starts out, he finds just a handful of wheat pennies in the first couple of boxes, and you can see his disappointment. I bet it can get discouraging, especially if you're going through so many pennies.
Oh, absolutely. And then he has this amazing moment. He finds a 1945 S wheat penny.
Yes.
That S means it was minted in San Francisco, which, from what I understand, makes it quite a bit more valuable.
Yeah, it does. And that seems to be a theme in coin collecting, these tiny details, like where a coin was minted, or even a slight error in the minting process can make a huge difference in its value.
Yeah, it's a great reminder that there's always more to learn, even with something as familiar as a penny.
Right.
So tell me, what else did Rob find in these boxes? Anything else that stood out?
Oh, definitely. He found a 1928 penny and two from the 1930s. And for collectors, any wheat penny minted before the 1940s is a good find. But here's another thing that's interesting. He mentions upgrading some of the coins in his collection. Upgrading? What does that even mean? Is there some kind of hierarchy of wheat pennies?
Absolutely. It's not just about finding any old wheat penny. Collectors are always looking for the best possible example of each coin.
Okay.
So if they find a coin in better condition than the one they currently have, they'll swap it out. It's all about refining and improving their collection over time.
So it's kind of like a competition within a competition.
Yeah,
Not only are you trying to find these specific wheat pennies, but you're also trying to find the best possible version of each one.
exactly. Condition plays a huge role in a coin's value. A pristine, mint state penny, one that looks like it just rolled off the presses, can be worth significantly more than a worn one.
So it's not just about the age of the coin, but also how well it's been preserved over time. Makes you think about all the hands these coins have passed through, doesn't it?
It does. Each one has its own little story to tell.
Now, besides finding those older wheat pennies, there was something else that got Rob pretty excited, a double die.
A double
I
die.
have to admit, I'd never heard of that before. What is it about these double dies that gets collectors so worked up?
Well, think of it as a happy little accident. Sometimes during the minting process, there's a slight misalignment.
Huh.
It creates a doubled image on the coin, kind of like a ghost image.
Oh, okay.
And because it's a minting error, it's pretty rare. And anything rare in the collecting world tends to be highly sought after.
So even a tiny imperfection can make a coin more valuable. I guess beauty really is in the eye of the beholder, especially when it comes to coin collecting.
Exactly. It's those unique details that make each coin special.
And this video is just the tip of the iceberg, right?
Mhm.
Rob mentioned he also collects Canadian pennies, and he even found a coin from Barbados. There's a whole world of coins out there beyond just these wheat pennies.
It's amazing, isn't it? You could specialize in coins from a specific country, a particular historical period, or even just coins with interesting errors. The possibilities are endless.
So back to Rob's wheat penny quest. After going through those 3 boxes, he ended up with 17 wheat pennies. Is that considered a successful hunt?
Well, that's a pretty good haul, especially considering that each box has thousands of pennies.
Right.
It's all relative, right? Compared to the millions he wants to go through, it's a drop in the bucket. But he found some great coins, including that 1945 S wheat penny. And remember, he also upgraded 2 coins in his collection, which is a big deal for a collector. It's about progress, not just the final tally.
Yeah, it really shows the dedication and patience it takes to be a coin collector.
Exactly. This video is a great example of the ups and downs of the hunt, the thrill of discovery, and the meticulous attention to detail that goes into building a collection.
It definitely makes you appreciate those little copper circles in a whole new light. And it makes me wonder, what drives people to collect things in the first place? Whether it's coins, stamps, baseball cards, or something totally unique, what is it about collecting that captivates us?
That's a great question. And something we'll delve into further as we continue this deep dive. But for now, I'm curious, what are your initial thoughts? What's sticking with you after watching this video?
Watching Rob sift through all those pennies,
Yeah.
it's amazing how much knowledge he has about them. He's
Mhm.
just rattling off terms like DDO,
DDO.
which we learned stands for double die burst,
Right.
and talking about specific mint errors. It's like a whole language.
It's amazing, isn't it? There's a depth to this hobby you might not expect. It's not just about finding old coins. It's about understanding their history, the nuances of their production, even the variations within a single year or mint mark.
It makes me wonder where would someone even start if they're interested in building their own coin collection? It seems a bit overwhelming at first.
Well, like any new interest, you start with what sparks your curiosity. Did you find yourself drawn to the wheat pennies specifically? Maybe you have a fascination with a certain era in history, or perhaps you're just captivated by the idea of uncovering these hidden treasures in everyday circulation.
You know, that's a good point. For me, it's that connection to history that I find so intriguing. Holding a coin that's been circulating for decades, imagining the stories it could tell.
Right, and there are so many avenues you could explore. You could focus on coins from a specific country, a particular denomination, or even specialize in coins with errors, like those double dies Rob was finding. It's all about finding your niche, finding what resonates with you.
That's helpful advice.
Yeah.
But let's be realistic. Is it even possible to find valuable coins in circulation these days? Or are those rare finds reserved for people who buy from dealers or at auctions?
That's a question a lot of people have. While finding exceptionally rare coins in circulation, well, it might be a long shot, it's certainly not impossible. Rob's video is a testament to that. Remember, people are still using coins that were minted decades ago, so there's always a chance you could stumble upon something special just by checking your pocket change.
So it's a bit like playing the lottery, but instead of picking random numbers, you're using your knowledge and a keen eye to increase your odds.
Exactly. And that's where experience comes in. Knowing what to look for, being able to spot subtle variations or errors, and having a sense for a coin's condition, those things can make a huge difference in your success.
Speaking of approaches, I found it interesting how Rod is specifically trying to fill a certain coin album. What is it about that hunt and fill method that's so appealing to collectors?
It's all about creating order from chaos, wouldn't you say? Instead of just amassing a random assortment of coins, you're working towards a specific goal. It adds structure, purpose to the hunt, and there's a real sense of accomplishment when you finally find that missing piece to complete a set.
I can imagine. It's like putting together a puzzle, but the pieces are scattered throughout the world of circulating currency.
And for many collectors, it's not just about the coins themselves. It's about the thrill of the chase, the anticipation, and the joy of discovery. It's a hobby that keeps you engaged, keeps you on your toes.
Now, the video also highlights a less glamorous side of coin collecting, the sheer volume of coins involved. I mean, Rob has buckets overflowing with pennies.
It's true. Coin collecting can be a physically demanding hobby, especially if you're searching through large quantities. You need space to store your collection, the right tools to examine the coins, and a bit of patience, too.
It sounds like it engages all your senses as well. It's not just a visual hobby.
Absolutely. There's the feel of the metal, the weight of a coin in your hand, even the smell of old copper. It's a very tactile experience, which I think adds to the connection you feel with the history these coins represent.
You know, it's funny. Before this deep dive, I never really gave much thought to the change in my pocket. But now I'm looking at coins in a whole new light.
That's the power of exploring something new, isn't it? It opens up a world you never knew existed. Who knows what other hidden depths we might find in everyday objects if we just take a closer look.
Before we move on, you mentioned earlier the importance of community in coin collecting. Why is that? Why is that connection with other collectors so vital?
Well, coin collecting can be quite solitary at times. You spend hours meticulously sorting through coins, examining them closely, researching their history and value. But sharing that passion with others, bouncing ideas off of fellow enthusiasts, and learning from those with more experience, it adds a whole other dimension to the hobby.
So it's about more than just the coins themselves. It's about the shared experiences, the camaraderie, the excitement of discovering something new together.
Precisely. And local coin clubs or online forums can be fantastic resources for connecting with others, sharing your finds, getting advice.
It sounds like a very welcoming and supportive community.
For the most part, it is. There's a shared passion that unites collectors and a willingness to help each other learn and grow. It's a really special aspect of the hobby.
I love that. It's a reminder that behind every collection, every rare find, there's a human story waiting to be shared.
Well said. And those stories often weave a fascinating tapestry, connecting us to history, to culture, and the sheer ingenuity of humankind.
Speaking of connecting to history, it's incredible to think about the journeys these coins have taken, the hands they've passed through, the events they've silently witnessed.
Each coin is like a tiny time capsule, carrying within it echoes of the past. And that's what makes coin collecting such a captivating and enriching pursuit.
It's a reminder that history isn't just something we read about in books, it's something we can hold in our hands.
And sometimes the most unexpected discoveries can be found in the most ordinary places, like the bottom of your coin jar. Who knows what treasures await?
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive, exploring the knowledge and strategies involved in coin collecting, the appeal of that hunt and fill method, and the importance of community. We've even touched on the sensory experience of handling coins and the connection they provide to history. But there's still so much more to uncover.
Indeed. In the final part of our deep dive, we'll reflect on the broader themes we've discussed and leave you with some thought-provoking questions to ponder as you continue your own exploration of the fascinating world of coin collecting.
You know, it's amazing how a simple YouTube video about searching for pennies can open up such a fascinating world, isn't it? We've gone from like basic definitions to minting errors, the thrill of the hunt, and even touched on the sense of community among collectors.
Yeah, and we've barely scratched the surface. It makes you wonder what other hidden passions and intricate worlds are out there just waiting for someone to take a deep dive into them.
Speaking of deep dives, one thing that really stuck with me was the historical aspect. Rob's finding wheat pennies from the 1930s, 1940s. Those coins circulated during some pretty significant events. World Wars, the Great Depression.
Mm.
It's like holding a tangible piece of those eras.
You know, it's true. It's easy to think of history as something in textbooks, but these coins were literally there,
Okay.
changing hands, being used in everyday transactions during those times. They've got stories to tell if only they could talk.
Makes you wonder what stories the coins we use today will tell future generations, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Will they be studying our dimes and quarters, trying to piece together what life was like in the early 21st century?
Now, that's a fascinating thought. Will they be amazed by the materials, the designs, or even just the fact that we were still using physical currency in a digital age?
I guess we'll have to leave that for future numismatists to ponder. But bringing it back to Rob and his quest for a million pennies, he's definitely shown us the dedication and patience it takes to be a collector.
He has. There were moments in that video where he was clearly getting discouraged, but he kept going. It's a great reminder that any pursuit worth undertaking will have its challenges, but the rewards, whether it's a rare find or simply the joy of the process, make it all worthwhile.
Yeah, and even though he's focused on filling that specific album, he seems genuinely excited by each wheat penny he finds, regardless of its value.
Exactly. Each coin adds to the story he's building with his collection, and that sense of personal connection is something that resonates with collectors across all sorts of hobbies, I think.
Yeah.
It's not always about the monetary value, but about the unique narrative each item holds.
Well, before we wrap up this deep dive, I'd like to thank you for sharing your insights and expertise. I know I've learned a lot, and I'm sure our listener has as well. Who knew there was so much to discover in a simple penny?
The pleasure was all mine. And, it just goes to show that there's always something new to learn, no matter how familiar a topic might seem. All it takes is a little curiosity and a willingness to dive in.
And who knows?
Ah.
Maybe this deep dive will inspire our listener to start their own coin collection or explore some other hidden world waiting to be discovered. Until next time, happy hunting.